surface. I don't know why, because I know Toby, and I've witnessed your journey for years, and I haven't even really been there for the big part of it overseas. But just in the time I've known you, you know, I reckon he's the true sense of the word entrepreneur.
Brilliant. Yep.
Which we know gets thrown around a lot, and I've tried to call myself one before. But if I was to compare, I think, you know, it's fair to say this is the actual description: high risk taking, gives anything a go, selfless. You know, hence we were sitting today is a place that represents that. You know, you're just giving so much back. I don't want to say just, you know, entrepreneur. I want to give everyone a little bit of context. Global entrepreneur, you know, and that's pretty rare air for an Australian, really, when you think about it. Mm-hmm. And at the ripe old age of like 23, 22, you know, that's insane. So I was still at university failing microeconomics. You're abroad launching a product, so...
Yeah, but to give you credit, I actually dropped out of university. So the fact that you went through is...
Mate, my mum told me, as a school teacher, you have to finish, I don't care. I had a marketing degree, mate.
Yeah.
It was like a new car. It was redundant the moment I enrolled.
Right.
But Tobi Skovron, how are you, mate?
Mate, it's very, very kind of you. I will say that on reflection, it sounds amazing, but the reality is I'm cursed.
Yeah.
As an entrepreneur, I'm cursed with ambition. And there's a fine line between taking risks and giving things a go versus wide awake in the middle of the night going, I hate going to sleep because I have to execute on this idea.
Yeah.
And so I've worked really hard. You call out, I was 23 at the time. I'm 44 next week. Yeah. So it's been a minute since I've been in this seat, but a lot of thrills. I actually sat with my wife last night reflecting, you know, there's a lot of turbulence in the world. There's a lot of anti-Semitic behavior, there's a lot of uproar, there's a lot of bombings, there's wars, there's economic issues. We have really poor leadership. I'm not talking political, but I'm talking leadership in this country specifically. We have massive issues going on in the United States around leadership. But my God, we're fucking lucky. We are so lucky. We're like my wife and I, thank God, we're healthy. We've got two beautiful kids who are amazing. My daughter lit me up the other night. We're sitting having dinner, absolutely talking shit. And she's like, Dad, Mom, I love this. I love our dinner conversations. And if you can't appreciate that, I don't know, man. Like, I really don't know. But I'm grateful to be here. Yep. And yes, I'm fighting the good fight, or trying to fight the good fight. And hopefully I can inspire some of your listeners today.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Toby. So we're sitting in the Creative Cube space. This is relatively a new space here in Jolimont.
Yes.
How long has it been open?
Yeah, so it's been in plan for 5 years.
Yep.
The Harris family, Jeff Harris, co-founder of Flight Centre.
Yes.
And his son Brad approached me in, I reckon, 2018.
Right.
And said, we want to build this epicenter for entrepreneurship in Australia.
Fantastic.
We want it to be where venture capital and funding meets entrepreneurship, which meets philanthropy.
Yep.
And we need you to activate. We think we need you to activate the building for us.
Okay.
We'd like to invest in your business.
Wow.
And so the journey started 5 years ago. The doors opened, I think, in like June. Mm-hmm. We took occupancy middle of May, 15th of May, or maybe the 1st of August. And it's been without, you know, trying to keep this evergreen content. It's been a couple of months since we've been open.
Yeah.
And we're rolling.
And this is the 6th.
It's great call out. Yeah. So it's actually, depending on where you are on the spectrum, and not that spectrum, but sort of like in the world of cubes.
Yep.
It's building 11.
Wow.
It's building 6 for Creative Cubes.
Yep.
But in June 15, we bought Workspace 365, and they have 5 sites. We're keeping the Workspace brand going and that product going. It's going to be rejigged. We don't want it to be like Creative Cubes. We think there's a different audience that really loves the Workspace brand. The talent that we acquired through that acquisition are the best in the business. And so, this is the 6th cube, 11th in the portfolio, but we actually have our 12th under construction, and a couple of sleepless nights the last few days. I've been in Sydney working on some deals there, and Adelaide working on a couple of deals there for 2025 launch.
Wow.
I think there's about 6 sites over the next 12 months that will open as well, between the cubes and the Workspace brand.
Gee, so
20%
growth.
Balls deep.
Amazing.
Well, on that, why don't I ask you then about Amazon? Because everyone's talking about it in the news. They're mandating, return to work.
Yep.
And everyone's sort of jumping on the camp of either, we'll go find a job somewhere else, or, it's happening everywhere. What do you make of all of that? And, how does that impact? And potentially feed into the success of your business ongoing?
So I think there's like dozens of things just in that one, BB. That the first thing is I love opportunity. I love choice. I don't like dictation, and I don't like entitlement. So I think that, hey, if you're an Amazon employee and you love what Amazon's about, then you need to go work for Amazon. And if Amazon wants you in the office, then that's the terms of conditions of engagement as part of your employment.
Yep.
Right? You shouldn't act entitled like, I'm a XYZ employee. I think you need to follow the leader. Yeah. And if the leader wants you in there, then that's what you need to be. By the way, we have choice here. You don't have to work at Amazon. Yeah. So if you want to work at home and sit in your pajamas and run 3 businesses, then I think that's great for you too. Don't work at Amazon and don't belittle Amazon for what they want to achieve as their organization.
Yeah.
I think when the whole pandemic happened, being in commercial real estate, not exclusively in office, but in events, I was in the fitness business as well, and cafes, food and beverage, there's probably no worse place to be in, with the exception of airlines and Flight Centre and all the rest of it. However, the storm that came to kill us was actually the storm that made us. Larger companies are understanding and appreciating their employees. And I think that we, not exclusively Qs, but flex operators generally globally, enable great companies like Amazon to be able to recruit talent anywhere on the planet and give them a micro home or a place to go do their work if they don't have a huge HQ. We're not all in Seattle at Amazon. I've been there dozens of times. It's phenomenal. But if I'm a great employee and I can contribute positively to the organization, but I'm in Sydney, Australia, I should be able to have a safe place to go do my best work. Yeah. And I think that these spaces that we've created and other operators in the industry and category globally, the storm that came to kill us was actually the storm that made us, because the likes of Lululemon, the likes of Porsche Australia, the likes of Gammy Chicken and Beer, KFC, New Era are coming to our spaces because they want to serve their employees, and their employees need not just to work from home, but they need a place to meet their client.
Yeah.
And they can't do that on their kitchen table.
Yep.
And so flexibility is amazing. Where we started off as, hey, you can take a 2-person private office, is now a 2-person private office for Billy on a Monday and someone else's company on a Tuesday.
Yep.
And so unit economics are really strong.
Yep.
If you can match demand with supply.
Yep.
Or vice versa. And so I think the world is wonderful from that lens. What I don't like and don't appreciate and have no time for is the entitlement. Oh, I'm not coming to work. Okay, why? I want to work from home. Is there a reason why you can't? If so, I'll try and accommodate. But if it's you just being entitled, like, it's time to go, right?
Yeah.
But generally, I'm an optimist. Glass is always half full. I think it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful that Amazon want their staff in the space.
Yep.
I think it's great for young talent as well to be in the space around experienced leadership.
Absolutely.
You know, part of the acquisition that we completed with Workspace was I really craved someone like a Michael Benson and a Rebecca Freestone that had seniority.
Yep.
I'm the oldest in the organization at 44. My team that are trailing or following me as the leader are in their early 30s, some are in their late 20s. And so my experience in this space has been deep.
Yep.
But equally, Michael, our current CEO of Creative Cubes, he's had 25 years experience in this space.
Yep.
And he's walked in and he's seen stuff that we haven't quite hit the mark on.
Yep.
And he's reformatting and rejigging the organization to streamline our efficiencies. And so from me, as a leader, entrepreneur, I crave seniority. And so as a junior coming in, you want to be around that talent.
Yep.
That you can't learn what you learn on site, in the moment, in the throes of
absolutely
war. Not literal war, but like trying to figure stuff out.
I think you hit on the head in any company thinking about succession planning with younger team members. Well, how do you create that culture of engagement?
Yep.
How do you do that remotely successfully? And I think that's a challenge that most companies are facing.
Totally.
So,
and I think that we play a huge role in that. You know, Lululemon didn't come to us because they wanted to shrink their HQ. They had 2,000 square meters and 96 staff, but only a dozen showing up every day.
Sure.
So they shrunk to support the on-site team.
Yep.
They engaged us with 45 stations. We built them a beautiful suite in Collingwood, custom designed with all their needs.
Yep.
And now more than 45 staff show up every day because we've created a space where they want to engage.
Yeah.
Versus a beautiful And it wasn't soulless. Like, you walked into their headquarters previous, and it was like, wow, this is like amazing. But it still wasn't enough to get the bulk of the employees at the office.
Right.
And that's not unique. We're seeing that across the board. We've seen Porsche come in to use our space in Collingwood as well, coincidentally, and then build their own space to then go to their own space, but their employees want to be back in our space. So they're back.
Yeah.
Which is a real credit to, not to me, but to the team on that property executing the mission.
Yep. How was COVID for the Creative Cubes?
Horrible. And for the most part, we're still climbing out of it, right?
Okay.
So,
But you didn't lose energy the whole time. As an outsider, I interviewed you at the start of this, and you did not waver.
No, and I'm never going to, because to my opening comments, I'm cursed with ambition, and I hate going to bed at night because there's just so much I want to do. How was COVID? The worst. The worst thing about COVID was the illogical decision-making that went on that has now turned out to be more favorable to politicians, hurting, in my case, the Victorian people. Yeah, we don't have anything interstate as of the recording of this pod, but I saw really great businesses just hit the wall for no reason. And also, like, for reason at the time that had no validation post. And so I'm angry, despite that emotion is not who I am. I'm angry that good people got hurt. And I wear that on my sleeve because I'm here trying to power and enable people. And these guys just were self-serving politicians with nonsensical, like, irrational and invalid data to support God knows even what they were trying to support. Like the reason as to why we went through extended lockdowns in this city is beyond comprehension. And by the way, there's been no, oh, we fucked up, or oh, we are sorry. It's just kind of like, cool, masks off, go back to work. But they fucked every small business in this state, and there were legacy businesses that were generational that just got ripped. And I don't think that's fair. Beyond that, I'm somewhat grateful for the change in time. As an entrepreneur, I went to bed at night picturing myself at the start line of a 100-meter race. And I threw myself back to being in high school where I used to run athletics. And I would size up all my competition before I took to the start line. And I think I got a chance against those three over there and those two over there. That guy's going to be tough. And so I visualized myself on COVID going, hey, we're now all nationwide at the starting gate. And I think my superpower is speed. And so if we're resetting, I think I can go pretty fast here. And so I've put the sort of business in the hands of a really competent operational team and just said, let me go. And so to that point, we're boom to 11 sites, and probably the next 12 months we'll be close to 20 sites.
Yeah, amazing. And do you think that's a direct response to coming out of COVID where, I mean, hybrid is essentially here forever? I think because of our lives personally and professionally are more complicated than ever. And with everything else going on in the macro, I think, to your point, being able to provide a safe environment, a modern environment. I mean, this space is spectacular.
Yeah, it's nothing short of spectacular.
And you walk in, you just feel like you just want to get engaged and go. And you don't get that from 200 square meters on Spencer Street in a news office. You just don't get that connection, let alone the 5-year or 7-year commercial commitment.
Totally.
So I don't want to do that as a business owner. So I think what you create as a product is awesome. And there are bigger players in the market, and they've had their own problems because of COVID. But it's remarkable what you've done. But I think you've nailed on what people are actually looking for in a product.
So I appreciate the kind words. It's a we effect. Like, it's not me just creating products. Like, I really pride myself on trying to listen twice as much as I speak, despite the fact that you've invited me on as a guest and I need to speak a lot on this pod. But I try and listen a lot to our members. I try to listen a lot to our staff and then make informed decisions on what we do best. I think there's a couple of things that have enabled this environment, and COVID was one of them. But I actually think it's software and technology that has enabled the most. So for me, great example, I just updated all my gear. Partly because we've got more staff joining, so my laptops have been passed through the organization. Equally, my laptop was too heavy. I'm starting to travel now, so I want a lighter device. But all I need to do is put in my username, password, and numbers open. And I have this sort of ongoing joust with my wife. She still carries a paper diary. And I said to her, if we were on a boat and you took my laptop, my phone, my iPad, whatever, I threw it in the ocean. It
doesn't matter.
It has no consequences on me.
Right.
However, if I threw your book in the ocean,
right,
you're stuffed. And she's like, well, we're not going to go on the boat with my diary. And, she'll counter, which is great.
Right.
But the reality is, and what I'm trying to articulate here is, software has enabled tethering to anywhere.
Yep.
And so long as an employer and as an employee, because I am an employee of this organization, I'm no longer the CEO. Michael's the CEO. I'm an employee. As an employer, I love the ability that my staff have to be able to be wherever makes them happy and comfortable to do their best work.
Yep.
9 times out of 10, that's all one of our properties.
Yes.
But in sometimes, and I do it myself, I need to stay home today because if I go to property, there's too many people that know me, or they heard the pod, or they heard this or that, and they want to have conversations.
Yeah.
And I'm open to that, but I've got to get some work done as well. But the technology stack, whether it's Salesforce, HubSpot, depending on your CRM, whether it's Canva, Slack, G Suite, Microsoft, Teams, all of that is all cloud-based now. So the resistance for businesses, maybe like you or potentially legacy businesses that have to be on site with their servers plugged into the mainframe to be able to power their business.
Yeah.
That's just ancient to me.
It is, yeah. And it's funny you say that because I've been in software for 20 years and there's never a good time for a pandemic, but it's ironic and almost coincidental that COVID happened at a time where it was going to test the very foundation of all the software layers you've tested, and it essentially did work.
Yeah.
Had it been 5 years earlier, it may have not worked, and it's likely wouldn't have worked.
Well, actually, I reckon 5 years earlier, and they wouldn't have been able to lock us down.
Sure. Yeah, because they use technology to enable that to actually disseminate how they went about it as well.
And what scares me as well is I'm a guy, hard on the sleeve, I'll just run to the ball.
Yeah.
Because that's the game.
Yeah.
But there's people out there behind puppeteering,
sure,
calling shots and plays. We talked about, dare I say, P. Diddy. There's stories coming out of him being an informant.
Yeah.
And running these stories, or running these freak-off parties to have people filmed to then be able to manipulate those people in government, in power.
Sure.
And I don't want to go into it because we don't know what's going to happen. It's still very early in the process. But it worries me that there's people behind the scenes that have orchestrated something.
And technology is the smoking gun. It is actually the enabler for all of this to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And so my money, my belief in Elon, and the passion and love that I have for X, where I can sort of try and cut through the headlines to the source or the truth, is really, really powerful. And I'm fully subscribed to that. I'm a huge Tesla investor. I've got Tesla product. My wife and I both drive Teslas. I'm huge on X. That's my go-to for everything.
Yep.
If there's someone who goes, oh, do you hear what happened? I go straight to X. And then I read what happened.
And it's not true.
And then I go to the comment section. And then I really understand where the pulse of the people are.
Right.
And that's really powerful.
Absolutely. Definitely. Agree.
And it's also the guy paid $44 billion and actually doesn't give a shit whether it's worth $1.
Well, I think some guy wrote it down 80% or something recently.
Whoop-de-doo. The fact that he's empowering the people is phenomenal. And I think that traditional media, look what we're doing now, right? You guys are running your own show on platforms where self-publishing that'll reach hopefully millions of people, if not mega millions of people. Whereas that power from the traditional media channels in our world 7, 9, and 10, or Foxtel or whatever's now, it's a dissipating value proposition from that standpoint.
Totally. Yeah.
And so the power is in the people. Yeah, and I love that.
So I think switching gears now because of time, I'm keen to understand. You've had a business in the US,
yes,
which I'm sure everyone within your camp is very familiar with, but for people listening, they only know you as Tobi from Creative Cubes. But keen to understand, what was the US business? What made you go to the US? At what age? And we were just talking earlier that for you it's ancient history, but I think war stories
it's ancient history in as much as I'm trying so hard to throw myself back there, and it's been a decade or more. So BB knows this. I'm a massive basketball fanatic and junkie. I will get to your shootouts. However, there's only 24 hours in a day, unfortunately, and I'm still working 25. But the Australian market. So I started a business called Pet Lou, I didn't come in to start a business.
Yep.
I never thought I'd be in the pet industry. And if I was in any industry, I didn't think it would be in the really dark place of the industry, which was poo and pee. Yeah. Like a lot of people like building beautiful
boring
organic
businesses make great money. So.
Well, I tell you what, COVID, schmovid, great financial crisis. My dog's still shitting and pissing every day.
Exactly right.
Like no one stops. This thing just doesn't stop. So,
Yep.
so I never thought about that. I passionately fell in love with a girl who we've been together, I think, 22 years in November this year, I think. But again, I want this to be evergreen content. So we've been together 50 years. And I bought her a dog.
Okay.
Which might just be a statistic, you know. I moved into a one-bedroom apartment, bought her a dog, which I think was sort of like indirectly our commitment to parenting something.
Let's see how parenting goes.
Yeah,
Yep.
And like not like, hey, let's get a dog and see if we can be good parent. Like it's just like, let's bought a dog. Oh, shit, like now we got to look after this thing together and feed it and pee it. And the eureka moment, which is where the cursed with ambition came, was Tobes. We live in a one-bedroom apartment. The dog needs to pee at the most inconvenience of times. What put it in the we just need a patch of backyard on our balcony, and bang, like that was like the switch that we got turned on. I was like, I know exactly where I need to go. I know exactly what I got to do. I know my friend who does design and industrial design. I go speak to someone, and I ended up with this product. And I ended up with a product to solve my problem, and then I didn't realize that I didn't think about the problem as a real problem, but then realized that this problem is actually a global problem. And so we went on the TV show called The New Inventors. Actually remember, it was wild, but I remember Simone came home working at the hospital, and we went for a walk. And we walked from our apartment to our PO box, which was in our local neighborhood, Elwood, Victoria. So we walked there. I opened the PO box 141 Elwood, Victoria 3184. I opened the PO box, and there was an envelope there from ABC TV. And I opened it up. Thank you for applying for the New Inventors. As you can appreciate, we get thousands, if not tens of thousands of applicants. You're in queue, but we may not reply to you for several months. Well, I did this thing, walked past the trash can, scrunched it up, threw it in the bin. As the thing bounced and then went into the bin, my phone rang. Hey, is this Toby? Yeah, this is so-and-so from the New Inventors. Are you available Thursday? Or maybe it's Tuesday. What do you mean? We need you in Sydney. We want to put you on the show.
Wow.
And so that just gave me goosebumps, just like throwing myself back there. We went on the show. I got so much PR leading into the show. I employed Dion Moscow Taylor from Polka Dot PR. I said, hey, D, we're going to be on this TV show. I need you to just tell everyone in the media, everyone you know, to watch the show that night, and then bring me interviews and opportunities.
Yeah.
And she blew it up. Awesome. I still work with Dion today. And she blew it up. We had every media outlet wanting to know more about Pelu. We won the show that night.
Yep.
Went on to win Australia's People's Choice Award.
Yep.
So people voted and we won. There's a market here. And then the next day, my emails, I had 500 orders.
Awesome.
From people.
Yep.
Including a distributor from the United States.
Got it.
Throwing myself back to basketball a little bit. In Australia, we have a fantastic league called the NBL. And I'm a very proud sponsor of the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix this season. They have our brand on their jersey. I'm pumped. But in the US, they have the NBA. And the league is very different. And so I liken our 7 million cats and dogs in Australia, which is like a big market, versus 200 million cats and dogs in the United States. I better be playing. I better be playing in the NBA. Yeah. I don't want to talk badly, because it's not like Pet Stock, Pet Barn, and some of those relationships are still very, very close to me today.
Yep.
Pet Stock, Pet, I still have those people in my life. They call me, I coach and mentor and talk shit with them, and they go on and do amazing things.
Yep.
But there was an opportunity to take this to the big leagues. And so I backed myself. My Australian business was doing about $2 million, about $2.1 million, again, distant memory, annually. And my US, we were exporting to a distributor, was only doing like 300,000 US or 250,000 US.
Yep.
So I called him up and said, hey, I'm going to come in and help. And he's like, no, I'm the US distributor. I'm like, no. You signed my agreement. I didn't sign yours. I can come and help you, or I'm going to compartmentalize you to a specific distribution channel.
Alabama.
Well, he was actually coincidentally in Blaine, Washington, not far from Seattle, not far from Amazon, who ended up becoming one of my biggest customers, by the way, and still sell our product, or not my product. It's been so long, but sell the Prelude brand very successfully globally. And so I grew that business from a $20,000 loan to $10 million of revenue. $2 million was coming through Australian markets, $10 million was going through our US markets. And I ended up in Nuremberg, Germany, at a show called Interzoo. And I met, he probably won't admit this, but like, my wife met a guy called Randy Boyd. I reckon he was perving on her at the show. And she started talking to him. And his accent? Randy Boyd from Knoxville, Tennessee. The guy is an absolute legend. I still am very grateful for him and to him. And he's gone on to do amazing things. But he was the principal founder of a company called PetSafe. They were huge. I think they were doing about $500 million of revenue. Here's me. Got $2 million of revenue. I'm coming to America. And he put me in my place really quickly, but not like trying to stick my nose in. He's like, hey, kid, like, love your energy. Love what you're doing, but like, this doesn't move the needle for me. Grow it to 10 million and I'll buy you.
Yep.
So I ended up calling him. And truthfully, I ended up calling him in tears by crying. Hey, Randy, I need you to buy my business. This is becoming too big for me.
Yep.
I can't continue to do this in order for me to go from 10 million to 50 million.
Yep. And
I said the same thing to my team today. What took us from zero, my kitchen table, which was very similar material to this, to $25 million of revenue at Cubes, is not going to take us from 25 to 50. Something needed to change.
Yep.
And so in comes Michael Benson, CEO, experience, Rebecca Freestone, operational expertise, Mel Young, sales, unbelievable salesperson, complementing Sade Nazio, head of HR, Gav Fernando, head of sales, Lily Galina, head of marketing, Lyndon Cookson, head of digital tech and Stacks.
Yep.
Whack those teams together.
Yep.
And yeah, we can get to 100 million now.
Yep.
Yeah, because we've got experienced leadership that has joined young entrepreneurs, hungry, good human beings. And so the same thing happened with Petlu, actually. I was like, hey man, like, I did it. I got myself to 10, but I think we can go to 50, but I can't do it by myself.
Yeah.
And he's like, kid, I love it. I flew out to Knoxville, literally broke. Yeah. Like, they had to pay for my flights because every dollar that was coming in was going out. And the reason why I was coming in and going out was they were selling through product really fast, but they weren't
finance.
Well, they weren't hitting their terms on pay.
Yep.
So they would buy $10,000 worth of product. By the way, 52 odd distributors across the country and in Canada, they'd buy 10 grand worth of product each. They would have 60 days until the bill was due, and they would sell it within 15 days and ask for more.
Yeah.
And so I'm like financing like this. And so I had to start going in for early pay discounts, but I was literally for $3,000 or $4,000 in the bank.
Yep.
Millions of dollars owed to the plant.
Yep.
Debt-free, cash flow positive.
Yes.
But liquid poor.
Liquid poor, yeah. Yep.
And so I went to Randy and I said, man, I did what you asked me to do. Come by. And he's like, we had a deal done. I then joined that organization as vice president of commercialization, which basically meant I'm going to put you in a room with all these cool ideas and you got to make commercial sense of them and bring our stuff to life.
Yep.
So that acquisition, debt-free, cash flow positive, 100% owned by Sim, my father-in-law and I. Well, we were a third. Jack, my father-in-law, put in $20,000.
Wow.
Ended up with a multi-million-dollar check. Sim and I sweated for 10 years.
Yeah.
Again, perspective, it wasn't an overnight success, but it took me 10 years to hit that number.
Yep.
And
in that 10-year journey, what is the ongoing motivation to stick at it? Because you're right, 10 years is a large amount of time.
Many other people
to be doing the same thing over and over. I mean, and to be in a liquidity poor situation. I mean, what is the motivation, your mindset to actually keep that going, knowing that goalposts is probably not in sight still?
So every other week there was a new market. Japan, Brazil,
so just this
Canada.
ever-expanding opportunity.
Yeah. And so it was like, and it took me there. Like I flew to Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Yep.
I flew to France. I flew to London. I flew to Canada. Like, it took me everywhere. So like, it wasn't sort of like orders coming in, distribute. It was like, hey, we need you to come and sell this to our customers. I get on the road and I would do road shows with reps. They'd pick me up from airports.
Wow.
I'd ride with them all day, sell a bunch of retailers in the market. They'd drop me back to the airport. I go to the next city.
Wow.
So it wasn't like, how does
Yeah.
it? And so like, wow, I'm going to New York City.
Yeah.
$10 million in the city, and they're all in high rises. There's no bigger market.
Yes.
And so then you would like see the map, like Tobi's in New York, sales are going crazy. But now Los Angeles hasn't got Tobi in the market. Tobi flies back, sales go crazy. Up to Seattle, hey, Amazon, let's do this.
Yep.
Actually, Amazon called me because it was on their marketplace through third-party sellers. And they were like, can we buy this direct?
Yes.
There's so much volume happening here.
Yes.
Like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yep.
So that was the motivation. The motivation was like, we were Flavorsome and it was wow. And by the way, I came to Victoria to be with Simone. I born and raised in Sydney. My mum gave me United Airlines frequent flyer points to come down to Melbourne. She gave me $7,000 to furnish my apartment, which I bought from someone that was leaving. I bought a bed and a nightstand and a couch and all $7,000. And my mum sort of like, hey, this is your girl. Like, you need to do whatever you can. So I came here with like $3,000 in the bank.
Yep.
And massive support from my mum, only to have Simone say, hey, I've got an idea. Oh, we need to patch about. I said, I've got an idea. Her dad go, well, I'll give you $20,000. Like, go get some patents and trademarks and throw yourself at the world. I'm like, my mum believed in my relationship with my wife, my girlfriend at the time. My girlfriend's father at the time believed in me. Here's $20,000, which was like, $20,000? I don't know how I'm ever going to pay you back, you know? That just sounded like a number that was just, I'm 23 years old.
Yeah.
I had $4,000 in the bank and this guy's just going to give me $20,000.
Yep.
He didn't just give me $20,000. It was like, hey, invoice for the lawyer. Yep, cool, $3,000. Hey, invoice for some samples, $5,000. Yep, no worries. Hey, we need to pay for some tooling.
Yeah.
So it ended up being $20,000 and it just threw myself at it, man. And I'm not wildly passionate about poo and pee. I'm a very hygienic person, shower twice a day, brush my teeth three times a day.
But I think, you know, the key part of your story is you and most entrepreneurs say the same thing, is that they aim to solve a problem they have themselves.
Yeah.
You know, and that's almost like the perfect nucleus. And
that's it.
If I'm solving this for myself, literally there's going to be at least 5 people be interested, maybe 20 people.
I wasn't looking to commercialize, but what drove me was the stories that came from the product that we built to enable animal companionship for grandparents that were in hospices.
Yep.
And their dog was with them to their dying day, to people that would love to have a pet but lived in cold climates and the dog couldn't go outside because there's snow double the height of you and I standing on each other's shoulders. The people living in just obscure spaces and places that, thanks to our products and solutions, because it wasn't just Pelu, there was a whole print to paper ink cartridge solution, they were able to have a companionship.
And that's literally the product story, is it enables pet companionship.
Yeah.
Which is wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fantastic.
And it's probably not too far from why Creative Cubes exists. So we exist to enable success.
Yep.
I'm not in your business day to day, but if you're coming into there, I hope you feel the energy here and you're like elevated. A guy that actually helped me build the Pet Loop brand, like the branding component of what we were doing, Justin Cabani, he was in a co-working space most recently in St Kilda, and I called him. I said, hey, Juz, like, I want you to come to South Melbourne. Tobes, it's just 10 minutes further than where I'm prepared to go. Juz, come.
Yeah, just
please.
Come and have a look.
Come. He walked past me, no word of a lie, yesterday, if not the day before. Everything's one long day for me, by the way. And he said, I didn't realize how much I needed to level up in my business. And being here in this environment, I could never have got it from where I previously was. And so, like, that's what I'm trying to, like, rub onto people. I'm not in Juz's business or Justin's business. He's his own machine and beast and success in his own right. Okay. But just being around like-minded, successful people really elevates, in this case, elevated him. And I just hope that continues to elevate anyone that comes to our space.
Yep.
You can lock yourself in the office and tuck yourself away. You don't have to be an extrovert. But if you lean in, which is one of our values, hopefully it will take you to a level that you never thought you could achieve on your own.
Yeah. Excellent.
Can I ask you a question? A lot of people have imposter syndrome around their idea, not just themselves.
Yeah.
So what's standing out to me is you come up with an idea around a pet product.
Yep.
you're the type of person I'd really love to know also, like, you probably have like 4 ideas a day. To think that, you've done this for so long, Creative Cubes, I wonder where those ideas go, because...
Wait till you hear about my next venture.
But a lot of people have imposter syndrome around their idea, especially now, because tech's, often people have an idea and they go, yeah, I love it, it's great, but it can't scale as big as, OpenAI or something else, right? And so people will default and they're kind of like, oh, I won't go ahead and do it. And I love the fact that you've gone and you've had an idea and you've seen it through.
Yep.
So love to hear thoughts on that. And also, I know everyone asks about the tough things, like what was the hardest thing about scaling to the US? But I'd love to hear about 1 or 2 of the experiences you had that you never would have been able to have, that you miss or you'd love to have again. You've interviewed Shaq.
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant, Blake Wright. You spent time in an environment where you would have got to have experiences that definitely would make that journey worthwhile.
Yeah. So I'm going to be really short and not sweet with your first one. Your first question: who gives a fuck? Is the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have so much love in my corner that if I shat on the table in my kitchen, my family would find a positive way to sort of be okay with it.
Totally.
Yeah.
I'm getting the visual now. Okay.
Well, when I talk about shit, I'm not talking about literally pulling down your pants and doing it dumb. But I'm talking about any baggage that comes to the table, right?
Yep.
My family loves me. My family knows who I am. My sister, G, oh my God, she just doesn't give me a break in the most positive way. I'll call her on the floor, I think that I'm done. I think I'm cooked. I think I've gone too far. And she'll hear me, listen to me. Then there'll be this awkward silence. And she'll be like, are you done?
Yes.
Cool. Get up, put your big boy pants on, and get going. Yeah? Because if anyone can do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
So the belief that from the people behind me in my direct corner, there's 2 things there, right? I don't need any validation from anyone else. My people that know me, know me.
Yep.
And they love me.
Yep.
So I'm good. Yep. So I'm comfortable in my own skin.
Yep.
So the imposter syndrome thing, these guys know who I am.
Yeah.
And I stay true to that 100% of the time.
So the point is, if you are experiencing that to your family and friends,
Your tight circle, they know who you are. Mm-hmm. Just stay true to that. Yeah. On the commercial side of things, I try my best to maintain authenticity, not at viewer discretion, but at hey, if you're gonna if this is gonna blow up in my face, so be it.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna not try and be what I'm trying to do, right?
Yeah.
But I'm also not gonna try and be someone that I'm not.
Yeah.
And by the way, I feel totally fine. Yeah. But these people behind me, my sisters, my wife, my kids, my in-laws, my mum, they believe in me. And I go out every day, not to score 40 points, but to play the best game that I can play. And sometimes I need to carry the towels and sweep the floor.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that because these guys behind me, they're super proud.
Yeah.
And so the imposter syndrome for me, it doesn't exist because I'm not looking for validation from someone that doesn't know me. And I'm okay if my product doesn't hit the mark, so long as I'm not trying to pretend to be something that I'm not. These are the people that I care about. Yeah. And so that's enabled me. And if you go back to basketball, strong defense creates great offense. Yeah. Yep. My defense is here. Mm-hmm. I pay for my strength through my family all the way through the market and try my best to score. It doesn't happen every time. And I got to tell you, I failed more than not, but my wins have been good ones to sort of mop the floor on all the other shit.
Sure. Yeah.
So there's that. In terms of experience, they don't come bigger than Shaquille O'Neal, and I'm talking not only physically, but metaphorically either. The guy is. I don't need to introduce him or tell your audience who he is. He is an animal. He was the most dominant player in his position. He has commercialized himself better than any athlete on the planet, bar Michael Jordan. And people could say, well, Kobe and LeBron and this and that. Shaq resonates with the people. LeBron resonates with a certain audience. Kobe resonates with a certain audience. And most of that audience is not actually, they're more Asian audience than American people.
Uh-huh.
And MJ is just this quiet humming goat that just... and I got to spend some time last week with Carmelo Anthony, who came out to Australia, and he was asked the GOAT question. I don't want to get on the topic, but his GOAT was MJ. But he understands that the young coming up today and looking at social media, they can understand like LeBron is the GOAT, right?
Yeah.
But there is only one GOAT, and he's on our wall in Richmond. If you want to go book the meeting room, it's called the GOAT Room. Nice plug, and you'll figure out who the GOAT is from there. Shaq was phenomenal, but actually Shaq wasn't the best thing that's ever happened to me. And when I said the best thing that's ever happened to me, I'm talking about commercially, optically, etc.
Yep.
I was in New York. I was not hungover from alcohol because I don't drink, drugs, I don't do drugs, but I was like exhausted. And my sister-in-law, who worked in our New York office at the time, Nicole, said, hey, let's hit the road. I literally landed in New York like 5 or 6 a.m. and we hit the shops at 10. And I hockey strapped to a bag trolley. Before our bags, our luggage had wheels. You used to have this third-party trolley with this hockey strap cord.
I remember them.
You just strap on, right? So I strapped a peddler to this trolley and we dragged it through the subways of New York.
Yep.
And I ended up at Murray's Bagel in 2008. And I was like, Nick, I need to sit down. She's like, hey, you go sit. I'll go get you. And I wanted a lox bagel. So salmon, cream cheese, on a bagel in New York. Like,
Yep.
nothing better for me. I like, if my kids said, Dad, what's your favorite food you'd have for breakfast and dinner? That's it. And there's massive debate. My daughter loves Japanese and my other daughter likes Mexican. Anyway, sit down and I'm like exhausted. And I'm like trying to like compose myself going, I don't actually know if I can make it through the day. It's only 10 o'clock in the morning. And this homeless looking guy literally walks in and he looks at me. He looks at the peddler, looks at me, almost walks into the counter because he's like, oh, like he was just such in a daze. Orders his bagel. And in New York, space is really confined. This guy sat literally on my lap and I'm like sitting opposite Nick, and Nick's like looking at me. I'm like so uncomfortable and I'm grumpy because I haven't slept. I've flown all the way from Australia. Melbourne, Sydney, Los Angeles, New York. Had a hot shower to go out on the road, like all in economy class, right? So it's like long way to go. Anyway, this guy sits there and he's like, hey man, what's in the bag? What's in the box? So I was like, oh, I'm trying to eat my bagel because I'm like literally gonna die. It's a product from Australia. What's the product? It's a product called Petley. It's for dogs. Oh, yeah, cool. Tell me about it. How does it work? Are you interested in buying one? This is how it works. And I like fully like was not myself. I was a young, arrogant punk. And he's like, no, I'm not interested in buying one. All right, cool, man. He goes, but I was the president of UPG, United Pet Group.
Wow.
I said, what? He's like, yeah. And I was the former president of the Pet Industry Association of America. My name is Mark Stern. Nice to meet you. I was like, he looked homeless. And he's like, kid, I like it. And he's like, I don't know who you are, but like, there's something about you. I want to get behind you. He never put $1 into my business. He's like, I'm going to coach and mentor you. Like, are you serious? He's like, meet me in Vegas in 2 weeks. And he disappeared. Gave me the business card, disappeared. I'm in Vegas. I just flew to New York. I had to go home to come back. Anyway, fast forward, long story. This guy was like God's gift to the pet industry. He sold UPG twice. He sold 70% for $115 million. And he sold the remaining 30% for $360 million. Between 95 and 2003 or 2005. And he wanted to come out of retirement. He had tons of money, but just didn't know what to do. Yeah, I met him in Vegas. And I don't know how I got to Vegas. I think I had to use frequent fly points. It was like super tight. Go to Vegas. I'm hockey strapping my thing through this convention center at Mandalay Bay. People are flying off the stands. Mark, oh my God, how are you? Like, this guy was so under the radar. Like I said, he looked homeless. And I'll come back to that in a second. It was unbelievable. So he's like, kid, if you want to play, he's like, you need to come to America. It's like, so that's what got me to America. So that was like the best thing that's ever happened to me because I feel like I grew up in Los Angeles, even though I grew up in Bondi. At 28 years of age, I moved to America. And that's why I was like, hey, the people said, where are you from? I say, LA. No, hold on a second. No, I'm from Bondi. But I feel like I grew up in America. None of that would have happened if I didn't have this sort of impromptu experience in Murray's Bagel. Fast forward, I exit the business and Nike come out with Nike ID, where you can go on and customize your own shoes. So I went on and customized a pair of shoes for Christmas. Petloo, green, Nike swooshes, and put Mark on the tongue or some Petloo or something. I personalized them. I said, hey, Mark, I'm coming to New York. We just sold the business. I'm coming to New York. Meet me outside Murray's Bagels at 10 o'clock. Let's reenact our day one. Fully the script. Look, you're sitting outside with a cup of coffee. Right? I walk past. He's like this. And I go in and I sit down and he comes in and we reenact. And we're halfway through, like fully in character. And we're halfway through, mate, it's fucking amazing. We hug it, cut it. Toby, the craziest thing just happened to me. I go, what? He goes, I'm sitting outside with my coffee and someone threw a quarter in my cup thinking I was homeless. True story. I was like, Mark, I don't know why they would think you're home. Like, throwing myself back to 8 years or 10 years before. And I think that was the best thing that's ever happened to me. I think my wife is the best. My kids are amazing. But commercially...
The power of serendipity at that point.
There's 10 million people in the city of New York. Yeah. I'm like hungover and like irritated, and I land in the godfather of the industry's lap, literally.
Yep.
And I wanted nothing to do with him because I thought I was like, I thought I had something. I thought, and like, similar to Randy. Yep. Randy's like, how big's your revenue? I'm like, $2 million. He's like, oh shit, that doesn't really move the needle.
Too much of a cottage industry.
Yeah, it's like we do $3 million a day. Like, fuck, like, you know what I mean? But like, I kind of absorbed it all. I humbled myself. Mm-hmm. The ego from Bondi out the window. Serve people, look after people. Don't judge a book by its cover. And so I think today, where I sit as the executive director of Creative Cubes, for me, I think my business has always been about the people. I think the spaces are beautiful. I think where we're sitting is really nice. The carpet is pretty Instagrammable. But none of that matters. If you've not got good people in here, you're not looking after people. No. And so I think my impact is definitely coming through. I'm definitely having impact. I just saw a member in the elevator when BB texted me, hey, you coming to East Melbourne? I was stuck in the basement because one of our members who's been with me since 2017 came out of the elevator as I was walking in. She's like, hey, I need to speak to you. Her name's Marianne. I've got some ideas, and I think you're the guy that's going to help me activate it. I was like, whatever I can do for you, you just yell, and I'll be there. Yep. And so that, to me, is really proud.
Yep.
I'm really proud of it.
Fantastic.
We've run out of time.
That's
right. Thank you.
Thanks, Toby.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
All right. Cheers.